Have you ever wondered why you enjoy certain physical activities and some activities are very frustrating? Often, being skilled help us enjoy these physical activities. For example, if you pitch a great fastball, run a quick 5K, or have a killer valuable spike, you are more likely to enjoy these activities and the least will be very frustrating. But how did we able to acquire these skills and be good at them? Well, today in this video, we will learn about motor behavior. Hi, my name is Angela, and today I will introduce and explain to you the motor behavior. Now, what is motor behavior? As I've said earlier, the more we are skilled in the activity, the more we enjoy it. Okay, think about a skill that you like and do well. For example, dribbling a basketball. How did you learn to dribble? What types of practice experience worked best for you? How did you learn to coordinate the movements of your feet, your hands, and the ball? And do you remember those early years when you dribbled slowly, couldn't turn quickly, couldn't dribble only with hand, and sometimes lost control of the ball? In what ways did your brain and nervous system develop and adjust so that you could improve your control and coordination? Across the lifespan, practice is an important factor in learning. Most people improve motor skills and never understand how nervous system adapts, how it develops or control movement, or how best to use practice to improve performance. The study of motor behavior that focuses on skills learned and control and how movement changes from birth to the end of life. People believe that practice improves performance. We see evidences of this in home, schools, communities. Parents urge children to practice playing piano. Athletes ask coaches for help in practicing a sports skill. And students perform practice exercise to learn keyboard typing. However, there are some coaches and athletes use many special practice drills hoping to improve the playing performance, but only practice conditions that are similar to actual game performance will benefit the most. This principle is called specificity of practice. It's one of the most important and easy to replicate principle of motor behavior. For example, a coach believes that training in the pool will improve the skills of his track and field athletes when they play back in the actual track and field, where in fact, the pool training will affect the timing of the movement of the athletes, thus affecting their sports performance. Practice helps improve motor skills. The natural adaptation of the brain and nervous system also develop over time, which improves control and coordination. More likely, the more you practice and develop these skills, it will help you enjoy these physical activities. Scholars who study motor behavior can be called motor behaviorists. They are found in many fields like in school or university, medical field, and even in military. But what does a motor behaviorist do? In university, scholars who study motor behavior teach and do research. A motor behaviorist typically includes research in the area of learning, control, or development. Teaching and service. Teaching duties include courses in motor behavior or related courses such as biomechanics and sports psychology, research method, measurement and evaluation, or pedagogy and youth sports. Service for university faculty member might include evaluation of motor disorders or managing a program for individuals with other motor disorders or doing workshop or clinics about motor disorders. In military, a motor behaviorist might study, for example, how night vision glasses influence pilots' control or helicopters, or what the optimal method is for training workers to assemble a product. In medical field, motor behaviorists might study how the nervous system changes across age in control of movement, what the best methods are teaching rehabilitation protocols to patients in physical therapy, and how the game performance youth soccer players can improve. what causes of the movement deterioration with Parkinson's disease. In this, with motor behaviors should achieve the goals of motor behavior. There are three goals of motor behavior. These are: number one, to understand how motor skills are learned. Number two, to understand how motor skills are controlled. And lastly, number three, to understand how the learning and control of motor skills change across the lifespan. When you think of motor behavior, you may think of sports skills, but consider there are many other types of movement that people use in their daily lives. For example, babies learning to use fork and spoon. Dentists learning to control the drill and while looking in a mirror. And surgeons controlling scalpel or microsurgeons using laser while viewing a magnetic field TV picture of the brain. The goals of motor behavior are important not only in sports, but also in the total field of physical activity. Individuals have probably been asking questions about motor behavior since the beginning of time. Scientists have been seeking the answers to those questions for over 100 years. Okay. Now, lastly, what is the history of motor behavior? Research has long history in all three areas of motor behavior. There is a vast history of motor behavior in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Researchers were primarily interested in using motor skills as means to understand the mind. Motor skills were tools to examine cognition. In the World War II era from 1939 to 1945 was one of the great interests in motor behavior research because the military needed to select and train pilots. Thus, motor skills were viewed as a necessary component in military effort, but not because understanding motor skills was an important area of study. In the 1960s and increasingly in the early 1970s, motor behavior evolved as a scholarly subdiscipline of kinesiology. Scholars doing motor behavior research were no longer neurophysiologists or psychologists. They were specialists in physical activity. Franklin Henry's paper on memory dendron theory was first major theoretical paper from the discipline of kinesiology. Current research in motor and control learning usually focuses on understanding how the neuromuscular system controls and repeats movements. One purpose of this research is to understand the potentially developed treatments for disease and injuries such as Parkinson's disease and spinal cord injuries. Another is to improve performance in sports physical activity. In the 1940s and 1950s, developmental psychologists lost their interest in the development aspect of motor skill. If had not been for three motor development scholars like Ruth Glasgow, Larry Rarick, and Anna Espichet, the area might have died out. Thus, currently we see three lines of motor development research: the study of motor learning in children, the study of motor control in children, and the influence of growth on motor learning, control, and performance. Just as research in motor learning and motor control increased around 1970 and developmental research addressing the question of motor learning and motor control also becomes popular during that period. Motor development was considered part of the subdiscipline of motor behavior because the same topics were studied developmentally, but two research teams in motor development continued from the years 1970. The influence of growth and maturation on motor performance and the developmental patterns of fundamental movement. Growth clearly influences the performance of motor skills, and some of the studies of growth relates growth to performance. Because growth cannot explain all the improvement in motor performance during childhood, developmental scientists have turned out motor control, motor learning, biomechanics for more information. Thus, currently we see three lines of motor development research. Again, the study of motor learning in children, the motor control in children, and the influence of growth on motor learning, control, and performance. Thank you for watching.